Every trader dreams of that moment, the breakthrough, the day when everything finally clicks, when the charts start making sense, when you stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. But what most traders don't realize is that before that moment comes, there's a hidden stage that every successful trader must go through. It's the stage no one talks about, the one that doesn't show up in trading courses or motivational videos. It's the phase between learning and mastery, the dark, silent phase where nothing seems to work. At first, trading feels exciting. You learn about candlesticks, setups, patterns, and risk management. You imagine yourself making consistent profits, living free, and calling yourself a full-time trader. But then reality hits. You start trading live, and suddenly your emotions take control. Every move the market makes feels personal. You start overanalyzing, hesitating, doubting, or taking impulsive trades. It's not that you don't know what to do. It's that you can't do it consistently. This is the hidden stage, the emotional valley between knowledge and discipline. It's the time when you know enough to see what's possible, but haven't yet built the mental control to execute it properly. Most traders mistake this stage for failure. They think they're not cut out for it, but the truth is, this is where every consistent trader is made. The hidden stage feels brutal. You'll lose trades you thought were perfect. You'll watch your analysis play out after you've already exited too early. You'll get angry, frustrated, and question everything you know. You'll think maybe you need a new strategy, maybe a new mentor, maybe trading just isn't for you. But it's not your system that's failing. It's your psychology that's being tested. The market isn't rejecting you, it's preparing you. In this phase, your emotional endurance is being stretched to its limits. The market is showing you every weakness you still have. Impatience, greed, fear, ego, overconfidence, doubt. It's not doing this to punish you. It's doing it to prepare you for the trader you're supposed to become. The profitable version of you doesn't exist yet. You're still being built. Most people can't handle this stage because it doesn't give instant feedback. You don't see progress in your balance. You don't get rewarded for doing the right thing. You can follow your plan perfectly and still lose while someone else wins recklessly. That's the psychological trap. When logic doesn't seem to align with results, this is where most traders lose faith and quit. But the few who stay, those who push through this fog, are the ones who eventually find consistency. You see, the hidden stage is not about winning or losing money. It's about mastering your reactions. The market is neutral. It doesn't care about your emotions, your dreams, or your strategy. It only reflects how you handle uncertainty. In this stage, your biggest enemy isn't volatility or fake outs. It's your own need for certainty. You want control. You want results now. You want to feel like all your hard work is paying off. But trading doesn't work on your schedule. It rewards patience, not pressure. There's something painful but necessary about this process. You'll feel like you're making no progress, but what's really happening is internal rewiring. Your brain is unlearning the habits of gambling, reacting, and chasing. You're slowly replacing emotional impulses with emotional control. Every time you resist revenge trading, you're training patience. Every time you accept a loss without breaking discipline, you're building resilience. You might not see it yet, but you're leveling up in ways that money can't measure. This hidden stage is what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. The amateurs keep changing systems. The professionals keep refining themselves. The amateurs want quick results. The professionals focus on consistency. That's the difference. The traders who make it through this stage stop asking, when will I start winning, and start asking, how can I stay calm when I lose? They stop trying to control the market and start trying to control themselves. At some point during this stage, you'll hit a moment of quiet. Not because the market got easier, but because you did. You'll stop reacting to every small move. You'll stop chasing missed entries. You'll stop needing to trade all the time. That's when you know you're close to breaking through, because the first real sign of growth in trading isn't more profit, it's more peace. You begin to realize that your emotions have finally stopped controlling your actions. You're no longer addicted to the chaos. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you this. Are you struggling with fear, doubt, or overtrading? The truth is, most traders don't fail because of bad strategies. They fail because of bad psychology. That's why I created my ebook, Master Your Mind, Master Your Trades. It's packed with practical steps to control your emotions, stay disciplined, and trade like a pro. If you're ready to take your trading to the next level, check the link in the description and pinned comment, and grab your copy today. Now let's continue. It's funny, most traders don't notice the moment they cross over from chaos to calm. It doesn't feel dramatic. There's no big win or sudden success. It's quiet. One day, you just open the charts, take a trade, manage your risk, and close it without emotional noise. Win or lose, you move on. That's the hidden stage ending. That's your transformation, quietly completing itself. You start to think less about being right and more about being consistent. You start to see losses as part of the game, not personal attacks. You understand that discipline isn't punishment, it's protection. You realize that your edge isn't your strategy, it's your state of mind. That's what this entire hidden stage was designed to teach you. Emotional neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop overreacting. You trade the plan, not the emotion. You accept that the market owes you nothing. You stop seeking certainty in an uncertain environment. That's when trading stops being stressful and starts becoming strategic. The hidden stage is long, sometimes painful, and always uncomfortable. It's the place where dreams die for those who want shortcuts, but it's also the place where greatness is built for those who can endure. Every professional trader you admire went through this stage. They didn't skip it, they survived it. And that survival, that ability to keep learning while losing, to keep believing while doubting, is what molded them into consistent winners. So, if you're in that stage right now, the one where it feels like nothing works, where you're tired, frustrated, and doubting yourself, understand this. You're not failing, you're evolving. You're in the stage before success, the hidden stage, the one nobody talks about because it's not glamorous, but it's the one that turns ordinary traders into extraordinary ones. And once you come out of it, you'll realize something powerful. The market didn't change. You did. The charts are still the same. The setups still repeat, but your reaction is completely different. You'll finally understand why your old self kept losing. Not because of lack of skill, but lack of emotional control, and that realization changes everything. This stage is invisible to outsiders. To everyone else, you're still struggling. They don't see the discipline behind your calm. They don't see the battles you've won in silence. But deep down, you know you're not the same trader you were before. You're more patient, more precise, more grounded. You've built something more valuable than profit control. The hidden stage before profitability is like the winter before spring. It feels lifeless, cold, and endless. But underneath, growth is happening quietly, slowly, powerfully. The market isn't punishing you. It's pruning you. It's stripping away impulsiveness, ego, and insecurity so that the real you, the professional, disciplined trader, can finally emerge. This is the price of mastery. This is the path no one warns you about. But when you finally break through, you'll look back and realize every sleepless night, every losing streak, every emotional meltdown, it all had a purpose. It wasn't a delay, it was preparation. You can't skip this stage. You can only survive it. But if you do, you'll never see the market the same way again. Because the moment you master yourself, you've already mastered the game. Every trader eventually reaches a point where they realize that the market was never their real opponent. It was just a mirror. The real battle has always been internal. You start to notice that your biggest losses didn't come from bad setups, but from emotional reactions. You begin to see that every impulsive trade, every time you moved your stop loss, every revenge trade after a loss, all had one common cause: your inability to control your emotions. This is where the real transformation begins. When you finally stop blaming the market and start taking full responsibility for your actions. At first, that realization hurts. It feels heavy to admit that it was never the strategy, the broker, or the news that made you lose. It was your fear, your greed, your impatience. You want to believe you are disciplined, but the charts have a way of exposing the truth. The market shows you who you are under pressure, not who you think you are when you're calm. Every candle tests your emotional limits. Every sudden spike challenges your ability to stay focused. This is why trading feels so personal. It constantly forces you to face your weaknesses. During the second stage, something shifts in your perspective. You stop seeing losses as failures and start viewing them as feedback. You begin to understand that the market is not random chaos. It's a psychological game where your emotions are the real variable. You start asking deeper questions. Why do I feel anxious when I'm in profit? Why do I chase trades after a loss? Why do I close early when I should hold? These questions are the start of emotional mastery. It's at this point that you realize consistency doesn't come from better setups. It comes from better self-control. Your rules don't fail. You fail to follow them. Your edge doesn't disappear. Your discipline does. And so you begin the hardest part of trading, training your mind to stay calm while everything inside you screams to react. You stop trying to predict the market and start trying to regulate yourself. This stage is uncomfortable because it forces you to slow down. You can't force growth here. You have to build it. Every trade becomes a test of patience. Every hesitation, a mirror of fear. You start to see patterns, not just on the charts, but in your own behavior. You notice that every time you overtrade, it comes from a need to prove something. Every time you break your plan, it comes from the fear of missing out. You start realizing that you are not fighting the market. You are fighting the parts of yourself that seek comfort over discipline. As you progress through this hidden stage, your identity as a trader starts to change. You no longer want excitement, you want stability. You no longer crave action, you crave accuracy. You stop trying to look for the perfect setup and start focusing on the perfect execution. You begin to see that real traders don't chase moves. They wait for confirmation. They don't react emotionally. They respond logically. They understand that missing a trade is better than breaking their rules. The hardest truth you'll accept during this time is that you don't control outcomes. You only control actions. You can't decide whether your next trade will win, but you can decide whether you'll execute it properly. You can't control how far a candle moves, but you can control how far you let your emotions push you. Once you internalize this truth, your entire trading approach changes. You stop measuring success by results and start measuring it by discipline. A losing trade where you followed your plan becomes a win, and a profitable trade that broke your rules becomes a failure. This mindset shift is what separates consistent traders from emotional ones. You begin to see that your real progress doesn't show up on your account balance. It shows up in your reactions. You start staying calm when the market spikes against you. You no longer feel the urge to check your phone every few seconds. You stop second-guessing your setups. You start trusting your preparation. That calmness doesn't mean you've become emotionless. It means you've built trust in your process. It's a quiet evolution. There's no big moment of celebration. You just start realizing that the chaos that once made you anxious now feels manageable. You can take a loss and still sleep peacefully. You can take a win and not feel invincible. You can stay patient even when nothing happens for hours. This balance between emotion and logic is where consistency begins to form. You are no longer trading for excitement. You are trading for mastery. But this stage also tests your ego. You'll be tempted to prove yourself after every small mistake. You'll still feel that inner pull to make the market pay you back. Your ego will whisper that you're smarter than your plan, that you can handle more risk this time. That's the trap. The moment you listen to that voice, you fall right back into the old cycle. So, you learn to silence it. You learn to let go of control. You learn to surrender to your system. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting your edge enough to stop interfering. It means understanding that not every trade will win, but every trade will teach. It means letting go of the need to be right and focusing instead on being consistent. This level of mental clarity takes time, but once you reach it, trading starts feeling lighter. You stop trying to chase money. You start trying to master behavior. One of the biggest changes you'll notice in this phase is how you handle uncertainty. You no longer see unpredictability as a threat. You see it as a part of the game. You understand that the market's randomness is what creates opportunity. You stop trying to predict and you start preparing. You no longer need to know what happens next. You just need to know what you'll do when it happens. That is the foundation of emotional control. When you finally stop reacting emotionally, trading becomes simple again. Not easy, but simple. You have a plan, you execute it, and you accept whatever comes. The stress that used to drain you begins to fade because you're no longer trying to force outcomes. You realize that trading doesn't have to be a constant emotional roller coaster. It becomes a process of probabilities, patience, and control. At this point, something deeper happens. You begin to see how trading mirrors your life. You notice that your impatience in the charts also shows up in your relationships. Your need for control in trading mirrors your need for control in daily life. The discipline you build here starts spilling into other areas. You become calmer, more focused, more aware. The lessons trading teaches you begin to shape the kind of person you are outside the charts. This is why the hidden stage is so powerful. It's not just transforming you as a trader, it's transforming you as a person. The more you control your emotions here, the more emotional intelligence you build everywhere else. You stop reacting to stress the same way. You stop letting small things throw you off balance. You develop patience, humility, and focus. The same traits that make you a consistent trader also make you a stronger individual. You'll notice that your need for instant gratification begins to fade. You don't rush trades anymore. You don't feel desperate to make money today. You understand that long-term consistency will always outweigh short-term excitement. You start to love the slow process because you finally see progress within yourself. You realize that discipline isn't restriction, it's freedom. The more disciplined you are, the freer you become. That's when trading finally starts to feel like art. You begin to enjoy the process again, but now with clarity instead of chaos. You look at the charts, not with anxiety, but with curiosity. You don't try to control every movement. You simply flow with it. The same patterns you use to fear now make sense. The losses that used to make you panic now feel natural. You have become emotionally detached, but not disconnected. This stage also teaches you humility. You understand that no matter how experienced you become, the market can still surprise you. You stop trying to beat it and instead learn to adapt. You accept that even the best setups can fail. You respect risk not as a limitation, but as a guide. This humility is what keeps you consistent because it prevents overconfidence from creeping back in. Eventually, you'll look back and realize that this was the real turning point. The moment you stopped fighting for profit and started working on discipline, everything began to shift. You'll see that your growth wasn't in your strategy, but in your psychology. You became profitable the moment you stopped chasing money and started mastering your emotions. Every trader wants the freedom that comes with success, but few want to face the silence of this stage, the silence where nothing seems to work, where you have to watch yourself fail repeatedly, where you have to control every impulse even when your mind is screaming to act. But if you can survive this, if you can stay disciplined when it feels pointless, you're building a foundation that no loss can break. Because once you've learned to stay calm in uncertainty, you've already won. The market will always change, but your self-control becomes permanent. And when that happens, profit becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. You're no longer trading to escape your emotions. You're trading from a place of peace. Every profitable trader eventually reaches a stage that feels almost invisible from the outside. It's not about excitement, not about chasing signals, not even about perfect entries anymore. It's quiet, calm, and deeply personal. It's where you finally realize that trading isn't something you do to the market. It's something you do to yourself. It's a mirror of your patience, your fears, your ego, and your ability to stay in control when everything feels uncertain. This is the final transformation, the hidden stage that separates the consistent trader from everyone else who quits halfway. At this point, you start to feel a strange kind of peace when you sit in front of your charts. The anxiety that once filled your chest before placing a trade begins to fade. The urge to constantly check your position every few minutes disappears. You stop reacting emotionally to every price movement. Instead, you start to watch, analyze, and wait like a hunter who has finally learned that patience brings more rewards than chasing. You begin to understand that your real strength isn't in predicting, it's in waiting. That calm didn't come easy. It was built on every breakdown you had before. It came from those nights you stared at your losing trades, questioning whether you were cut out for this. It came from those times you blew accounts, not because your system failed, but because you couldn't control your emotions. Every setback forced you to strip away one more layer of pride, ego, and impulsiveness. Every loss taught you a little more about yourself. And now as you sit there in this quiet place of understanding, you realize the market was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to shape you. This final stage is all about emotional detachment, not in a cold robotic way, but in a balanced human way. You still feel things, frustration, joy, excitement, but they no longer control you. You've trained yourself to observe emotions without reacting to them. You've learned to let feelings come and go without letting them make your decisions. You finally separated your identity from your trading results. A loss doesn't make you a failure, and a win doesn't make you a genius. You've become neutral, and that neutrality is your superpower. It's in this neutrality that you start to notice something powerful. The same setups you used to overanalyze now look simple. The same volatility that once scared you now feels like opportunity. You're no longer overwhelmed by too much information because you've learned to trust your edge. You've seen enough trades, taken enough losses, and survived enough pressure to know that as long as you follow your rules, the outcome doesn't define you. This trust gives you freedom. The kind of freedom that only comes after you've faced every version of failure and refused to quit. At this point, your mindset shifts from needing to trade to choosing to trade. You no longer feel pressure to be in a position all the time. You can sit out an entire day without feeling FOMO. You can skip a setup without feeling like you missed something big. You've learned that missing a trade is better than taking a bad one. That simple understanding changes everything. You begin to value your peace more than your profits. And ironically, that's when your profits start to grow. This is the psychological level where compounding truly begins. Not just financial compounding, but mental compounding. Every disciplined decision builds on the one before it. Every time you follow your rules, you strengthen the mental pathways that make discipline easier next time. Every time you walk away, instead of overtrading, you build resilience. Over time, your decisions stop feeling forced. They become instinct. You start trading with calm certainty, not emotional desperation. In this stage, you also learn something that almost every beginner gets wrong. Your job is not to make money every day. Your job is to execute your plan perfectly every day. The moment you shift your focus from outcome to process, you unlock real consistency. You stop caring about whether the trade wins or loses, and you start caring about whether you followed your plan. That shift changes your emotional state completely. The weight lifts off your shoulders. You start trading from clarity, not fear. You notice that your reactions are slower, more deliberate. The sudden urge to enter because of a spike. You pause. The feeling of wanting to move your stop loss because price is close. You breathe. The temptation to double your position after a loss. You let it pass. This ability to pause is what defines mastery, because that small moment between impulse and action, that's where control lives. Every time you choose discipline in that moment, you become stronger. You also begin to see how other traders around you are trapped in the same cycle you escaped. They chase signals. They panic during drawdowns. They celebrate too early. They lose control. You can see their patterns because you live them. You recognize the frustration in their words, the hope in their tone, the impatience in their decisions. But instead of judging them, you feel empathy. You understand that everyone has to go through that hidden stage. No one skips it. The ones who make it are those who learn to endure it without breaking. Your relationship with money changes too. You no longer see it as something to chase, but as a tool. You respect it more, and that respect shows in your risk management. You stop taking trades that don't deserve your capital. You stop risking 5% because you feel confident. You start thinking in terms of longevity. You realize that trading isn't about getting rich quick. It's about staying in the game long enough for your edge to play out. The traders who blow accounts aren't the ones with bad strategies. They're the ones who can't protect themselves from themselves. In this phase, patience becomes your edge. You begin to truly understand the meaning of less is more. You don't need 10 trades a day. You need 2 perfect ones a week. You stop trying to make the market move for you and start aligning yourself with it. You wait for confirmation instead of guessing direction. You sit quietly when others panic. You don't chase, you attract. That calm, controlled energy is what creates consistency. You start realizing that the market rewards patience the way life rewards discipline. You also begin to redefine success. It's no longer about profit targets, but about mental growth. A successful day is one where you stayed disciplined. A successful week is one where you followed your plan. A successful month is one where you didn't break your rules, even when tempted. And because of that, you start to feel in control, not of the market, but of yourself. That feeling of control is priceless. It's the peace every trader seeks, but rarely finds. Sometimes you'll still feel the old emotions creeping in: frustration, greed, fear, but now you recognize them. They no longer sneak up on you. You see them clearly and decide how to respond. That's emotional intelligence, the highest skill in trading. It's not about never feeling fear or greed. It's about mastering your reaction to them. You've built that mastery through repetition, patience, and failure, and now it shows in everything you do. And now you finally understand why profitable traders seem so calm. It's not because they don't feel fear or greed. It's because they've learned not to obey them. They've faced every emotion you can imagine: fear, doubt, anger, euphoria, and they've learned that none of it changes the truth. The truth is that trading rewards discipline and punishes emotion. Once you understand that deeply, you no longer need motivation to stay consistent. It becomes automatic. This is the hidden stage before every trader becomes profitable. The part where your mindset matures faster than your account balance, where the lessons come before the rewards. It's the quiet, invisible transformation that no one sees, but every successful trader remembers. It's the point where you stop surviving and start thriving, where you stop reacting and start executing, where trading stops being emotional chaos and becomes a peaceful process of probabilities. When you reach this stage, you've already crossed the hardest part. The profits will follow naturally, not because the market changed, but because you did. You became the kind of person who can handle uncertainty, manage emotions, and act with discipline even when everything feels uncertain. That's what true trading mastery looks like. That's the mindset every trader dreams of: calm, patient, focused, and free.